My mom had one complaint she repeated every single day. I was already in high school and still hadn't found a girlfriend. So one afternoon, without even asking me, she transferred me to a new school. Not just any school, the same school as my childhood sweetheart, Lily. Now, Lily wasn't just any girl. She was the school's most beautiful student. Calm, elegant, and completely untouchable. Every guy in that school had a theory about her. See, Lily never dated, never even came close. But there was something strange that everyone noticed. Her phone's lock screen password was 0101. Her gymnastics jersey number was 0101. Even her bank account PIN, according to rumors, was 0101. People asked her about it once. She said she just liked the numbers 0 and 1. That was it. No explanation, no emotion, just 0 and 1. For months, the school buzzed with one question. Who could possibly win over a girl like that? What kind of person would she ever open up to? Then I transferred in. And suddenly, everyone understood. Because my name is Ethan01. Or in Chinese, Zhengling Yi. 01. On my very first day at school, I sat down at the cafeteria with my new desk neighbor, Kevin. I was bored out of my mind, stirring a bowl of seaweed and egg drop soup that was already cold. I wasn't paying attention to anything around me, until the guy next to me suddenly pointed behind my back. "Hey, that's her, the school beauty from the high school building." I turned around slowly. And there she was, Lily. Standing across the cafeteria, tray in hand, looking for a seat, just as composed as the legends described, completely unaware of the 100 pairs of eyes on her. Kevin leaned in and gave me the full breakdown. "That girl over there? She's basically the reason 13 million boys in this school go to sleep crying. Straight A student, top of every class, and somehow also the most beautiful person on campus. It is deeply unfair." I watched her for a long moment, a small smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. "So, a lot of guys like her here?" Kevin thought about it seriously, then gave what he called an objective answer. "Not that many, really. I mean, if you subtract the few who don't like her, the rest of the school? Yeah, basically everyone." I rested my chin in my hand, looking thoughtful. Kevin waved his chopsticks in my face. "Hey, don't tell me you're already interested." A flicker of something crossed my eyes. What if I said yes? Kevin stared at me. "Bro, wake up. Crush that dream right now before it crushes you." He leaned forward with the urgency of someone delivering life-saving advice. "Listen, if you go talk to her, prepare to be frozen solid." Every guy who's ever confessed to Lily walked away looking like he'd been left outside in January. I smiled slowly. What if I still went? The two guys nearby assumed I was joking. They were wrong. I stood up, picked up the red thermos sitting next to me, and walked straight toward her. Lily had just sat down with her food when she noticed a shadow fall across the table. She looked up. I was already sitting across from her, setting the red thermos down casually and speaking with a lazy, unhurried tone. "Hey Lily, I don't really like this color." I glanced at her light blue thermos. "Could we trade?" A pause. Dead silence at nearby tables. Everyone knew Lily was a germaphobe. Her textbooks, off limits. Her personal belongings, absolutely off limits. And something that touched her lips, completely unthinkable. 3 sets of eyes stared at the red thermos like it was awaiting its execution. But then, something no one expected happened. Lily reached out, picked up her own thermos, and slid it across the table to me. Then she took mine and set it beside herself. She looked me in the eyes and said, almost gently, "The water's freshly poured. It's still hot. Be careful." I leaned back, completely relaxed. "Thank you." Then I turned around and walked back to my seat. I picked up my chopsticks and continued eating like nothing had happened, while the entire cafeteria buzzed in stunned disbelief. It took Kevin a full 30 seconds to recover. He grabbed my arm, shaking it. "Ethan, be honest with me right now. Are you some kind of wizard?" I took a slow sip of water from Lily's thermos before answering Kevin's question. "Simple," I said. "She liked the color of my thermos." Kevin shook his head like a man who had lost all faith in logic. "Okay, sure, but why did she say so much to you? She never talks to people. Outside of answering questions in class, Lily barely strings 3 words together. I smiled into my cup. That told me more than Kevin realized. Kevin twisted open his own thermos lid and held it out. "Can you pour me some of yours?" I looked at him. He looked at me. I tilted the cup directly into the nearest flower pot. Kevin stared at the flower pot, then back at me, with the expression of a man watching something precious be destroyed. From that day forward, the whole school noticed something strange. The legendary ice-cold beauty of the entire campus, and me, the new transfer student, were somehow always together. Not long after that, I was on the sports field watching gymnastics practice. I hadn't been there long when Kevin sidled up beside me and muttered under his breath, "Your rival just showed up." I blinked and looked around. "Which one?" Kevin sighed with the patience of someone explaining things to a golden retriever. "The 2 big shots of this whole school. Lily from the high school building and Ryan from the middle school. Both academic legends. Everyone knows them." I chewed my straw. "Ryan? I thought it was going to be someone named Rice Cake." Kevin made a sound that was almost a laugh. I looked over at Ryan, tall, lean, clean school uniform, with this unmistakably polished and courteous energy about him. Honestly, decent looking. The kind of guy mothers approved of immediately. My mood dropped 3 degrees. "Does he like Lily too?" Kevin nodded. "More than like. They're both up in the clouds. Same academic level, same quiet intensity. He's had feelings for her for ages. Unrequited, of course. Lily probably doesn't even know he exists." I watched Ryan standing a few feet from Lily, holding a bottle of sports drink, surrounded by 3 other guys, also holding assorted drinks and towels, all trying to hand things to Lily. Lily didn't look at any of them. She calmly reached into her own pocket, pulled out a handkerchief and wiped her own face, with her own handkerchief, that she had brought herself. Kevin nudged me, noticing the expression on my face. "Is that jealousy I see?" I bit down on the straw harder. Then I grabbed my half-finished yogurt, pushed off the railing, and walked straight across the field. I held the bottle out to her. "Lily, 1 sip." The contrast was striking. A half-drunk bottle of yogurt with a badly chewed straw in the middle of an army of unopened sports drinks and energy beverages. Lily looked at the destroyed straw. She looked at me. Then she took the bottle, put the straw to her lips, and drank a few sips. She turned and tossed it cleanly into the trash bin 3 meters away. The crowd watching, absolutely speechless. I stared at Lily's retreating figure, then at my now empty yogurt bottle in the trash. On the other side of the field, Lily had walked back to the benches. She opened her thermos and took several long gulps of water, trying to wash down something that was absolutely not her favorite. She made a face. That annoying boy had definitely done this on purpose. She didn't like dairy. He knew that. He had always known that. Back at the table, Kevin was still frozen in shock. "You gave her your half-drunk yogurt, with your bite marks on the straw." I nodded. "I was going to finish it myself. I sacrificed that yogurt. It was a very good yogurt." Kevin gave me a thumbs up. Not sarcastically. He was genuinely awed by my logic. The situation snowballed from there. That afternoon, Lily went to the bathroom for 5 minutes. She came back to her desk to find it buried under yogurt cartons. Dozens of them. Every brand, every flavor. Someone had spread the rumor that Lily liked yogurt, based on the fact that she had, visibly, drunk some. Lily looked at the mountain of dairy products on her desk and sighed deeply for a long, long moment. Her best friend Sophie immediately cracked one open and took a sip. Then she slammed it down, doubled over, and pressed both hands to her stomach with a look of pure horror. "Is this poisoned?" Lily rolled her eyes. Sophie was doing this to steal all of them for herself. As expected, by the end of the afternoon, Sophie had polished off every single one. The empty bottles in the trash launched yet another rumor confirming that Lily was obsessed with yogurt. The rumors spread like wildfire. By the next gymnastics session, Lily walked in to find an even bigger crowd. More drinks, more towels, more offers. I was already there, standing off to the side, shaking my thermos slowly. I muttered just loud enough for nearby ears. "No idea who said she liked that stuff. She only drinks plain water." Every guy within earshot whipped their head around. I casually unscrewed my thermos, poured a cup of plain water, and drank it myself, watching from across the field as more and more boys swarmed around Lily. The more I watched, the more irritated I got. Kevin stood beside me, reading the situation with his usual amusement. You weren't happy last time because you didn't see her. Now you're here and watching and you're still upset. Explain yourself. I ground my teeth. I came to watch, not buy out the whole venue. What's there to be happy about? Kevin tried very hard not to laugh. Fair point. Although, even if you had bought out the whole venue, you'd probably still want to buy out that specific person standing in the middle of it. Lily finished her practice set and the crowd surged toward her again. I stayed where I was, watching from a distance, not moving. Lily noticed. She walked over to me and reached out her hand. Something about that simple gesture knocked all the irritation out of me instantly. I poured the waiting cup of water I'd already prepared and placed it in front of her. She tilted it back and drank it all, then returned the cup. I took it back slowly, then turned and walked away without a word. Lily watched me go. She turned and walked back to her classroom too. Not a single thing was said between us, but somehow the air left behind felt warm and thick with something neither of us had named yet. The boys left standing on the field exchanged confused looks. Wait, didn't she like yogurt? Now she's drinking plain water? No one had an answer. Over the following days, the school began to piece things together. The new transfer student and the untouchable beauty clearly knew each other already. Sophie ran straight to Lily's classroom to confirm. Did you and Ethan know each other before? Lily nodded. Yes. How long? Lily set down her pen and actually thought about it for a moment. A real moment. Not a 1-second pause, but a genuine, extended thinking pause. Sophie and two other girls leaned in together and said almost simultaneously, Childhood sweethearts? Lily said evenly. Something like that. Sophie had a mouth like a megaphone. Within one school day, the news had spread to every corner of the campus. Kevin showed up at my desk with his arms folded. You two already knew each other. I looked up from my lunch. I never said we didn't. A small crowd had gathered around me before I realized it. Boys, mostly. All pressing closer. You really knew her before? What's your relationship? The closeness made me uncomfortable. I leaned back as much as I could. She's my older sister. Dead silence. Then, wait. What? I smiled. Same mother kind of sister? No. Our fathers have known each other for decades. Old family friends, so we grew up together. The Jiang family and the Gu family. Basically, inseparable since before I was born. Someone sighed enviously. Must be amazing to be that close to her. I brightened up immediately, like someone had turned on a light. Honestly, she is the best, the kindest person, patient, thoughtful, and when she smiles, you can't look away. Kevin interrupted. Hold on, are we talking about the same Lily? Cold, silent, won't acknowledge your existence, Lily? I nodded enthusiastically. Kevin turned to the others. Is this the same person? That afternoon, I appeared at Lily's side after class. Lily, she walked on calmly. Walk properly, I'm not babying you. I held up the empty milk carton I'd just finished, and nonchalantly tucked it into the pocket of her blazer, then yawned. Lily carried it for a few steps, then couldn't hold back a small laugh. Sophie, watching from behind, seized the moment. Lily, who is this? Lily glanced back. Sophie, my desk neighbor. Sophie jabbed a finger at herself. I'm Sophie. Nice to meet you. Do you know my name? I glanced at her once, nodded, kept walking. Sophie chased after us. Hey, I didn't even say my name yet. I'm a notable figure at this school, you know? Granted, the kind nobody pays attention to. But still. She muttered this last part sadly to herself as we disappeared around the corner. That Friday, school let out early for general cleaning. No classes. Lily walked with me around the campus under the excuse of helping me get familiar with the layout. We wandered without hurry, talking in that easy, scattered way we always had. Lily turned her head slightly. So what made you decide to transfer? I sidestepped a crack in the pavement for her and answered without hesitation. I wanted to be at the same school as you. She considered this. You could have told me in advance. Surprise, I said simply. She asked how I was adjusting, whether I'd made friends, whether the coursework was different from what I was used to. She told me her desk neighbor Sophie was energetic and easy to get along with. She mentioned that if I ever fell behind on any subject, I could come to her and she'd help me review it. I looked up, eyes suddenly bright. "Does that mean you'd come to my place?" Lily smiled. I could. And just like that same afternoon, witnesses at the school reported seeing Lily, the legendary untouchable school beauty, laughing. Actually laughing. Walking through campus with a younger transfer student, talking more than anyone had ever heard her talk, and smiling like she meant it. The story hit the school forum before dinner time. The post read, "The school beauty was spotted personally touring the new transfer student around campus. Not just more talkative than usual, she was smiling in a way that's genuinely beautiful to see. Normally, she won't warm up to any other girl. But apparently this one boy can call her name over and over and she doesn't even frown." The likes and comments piled up instantly. By nightfall, everyone with a phone had read it. Meanwhile, I was at my desk, looking at a blackboard full of homework assignments with the energy of someone watching their own funeral. Kevin stared at it with hollow eyes. "You should really copy this down before he erases it." I didn't move. "It's just 2 days off. Why is there this much homework?" Kevin looked at me with sudden suspicion. "You did transfer here to actually study, right? This isn't entirely about Lily?" I continued staring at the blackboard with dead eyes. "What do you think?" That entire weekend, Lily endured a non-stop stream of my complaints. She was worried she'd slow down my studying if she came over, so she didn't push herself to tutor me. But Saturday evening, she called to check in. I answered with my mouth full of apple. "Haven't started." A pause on her end. "What did you do all day?" I counted on my fingers. "Slept till noon. Ate, watched some shows, played games, texted you in between." Another pause. "Did you enjoy it at least?" I perked up. "Yeah, because I was thinking about seeing you." Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, so quietly I almost missed it, she exhaled and said, "Then I'll come find you tomorrow." Monday morning, third period should have been math. But the teacher called in sick, so it became a free study period. Lily had one thing on her mind: Ethan's incomplete homework. She whispered to Sophie before leaving, "Cover for me if a teacher comes. I'll be back." Sophie gave her the knowing look of a seasoned accomplice. "Got it. I'll say you went on a date." Lily looked at her flatly. Sophie revised immediately. Right. I'll say you went to the nurse's office." Lily stared. "That's even worse. If someone asks, just say I stepped out and you're not sure where." Sophie looked deeply offended. "No wonder you get caught every time you skip class. That answer has zero creativity." Lily left her to her complaints and made her way across the building to the middle school wing. Sure enough, there I was, standing in the hallway outside my own classroom, leaning against the wall, head swiveling left and right like I was watching for something interesting to happen. The hallway was empty and quiet during class time. The moment Lily appeared at the end of the corridor, I spotted her. She walked up to me. "Why are you standing here?" I answered casually. "Got sent to stand in the hall." She stood beside me in silence for a moment, then sighed. "Really? You didn't write a single word?" I pressed my lips together and nodded. She pivoted. "There's a concert this weekend. The conductor Marco Walsh. You interested? I can get tickets." I turned to look at her with undisguised excitement. "Are you going with me?" Lily didn't particularly care for Marco Walsh's work, but I was obsessed with him. She hesitated for half a second, then nodded. "I'll go." I lit up like a lamp being switched on. Then, just as quickly, my face fell. I looked up at her with the most pitifully expressive eyes I owned. "Lily, I'm so tired." She sighed. "Whose fault is that? Will you do your homework next time?" I was already leaning against her shoulder. She let me rest there. "Better?" She looked ahead, voice neutral. "Then, how did I finish mine?" I lifted my head. "What? You didn't write it either?" "I didn't." I stared at her with absolute shock. "You're actually kind of terrifying." The bell rang. Students began spilling out of classrooms. The entire hallway witnessed the scene. the untouchable, elegant Lily standing in the middle school corridor, apparently caught for standing around with a younger student and showing not a trace of discomfort. The school had never seen this version of her. A rumor had been circulating about me for weeks. Apparently, the reason I was the only transfer student accepted in recent years was because my father had donated an entire building to the school. The more people said it, the more people believed it. Add in the fact that I never visibly studied, and the image of a carefree rich kid had settled firmly into everyone's imagination. One morning at break, a group of classmates pressed in close with that particular kind of curiosity that has no manners. "Ethan, is it true your dad donated a building?" I blinked. "No idea, actually." Kevin shooed them off. "What's the point of asking about someone else's family finances? Why don't you tell us what your dad does first?" "Just asking," they said. I didn't mind. My dad, he doesn't work very hard. Sometimes he doesn't get to the office until almost noon, so he's always staying late to catch up. And the income isn't exactly stable. Everyone stared. That didn't add up to building donation territory. "What about your mom?" "Similar situation. She probably earns less than my dad. I always got my pocket money from him because she was less reliable about it." The group fell silent, baffled. If neither parent was wealthy, how did I even get in? "So how did you transfer here?" I looked at the confused faces in front of me. "I honestly don't know." Outside the window, Lily had been listening the entire time. She was the only one who understood what was actually happening, and it was taking every ounce of her composure not to laugh out loud. Because the truth was, I had earned my place here through pure academic merit. My father, Ethan Sr., formerly known to the world as a business titan, had actually tried to donate a building. He went to the school prepared to write a check, but when the admissions office reviewed my competition records from the previous 2 years, they waved the donation offer away entirely and enrolled me on academic grounds alone. And Ethan Sr. had been bragging about this to anyone who would listen. "My son saved me a whole building's worth of money with his brain." Lily tapped on the glass. I spotted her immediately and shoved the window open so fast half my torso was hanging outside. "Lily!" She pushed a small insulated lunchbox through the window. "My mom made this. Heat it in the cafeteria microwave at noon before you eat it." Every head in the classroom turned. I held the lunchbox reverently. The eyes around me were practically glowing. "And don't hang out the window like that. Come back inside." I pulled back, but stretched toward her. "Can we eat together at noon?" "I have something at noon. Eat with your classmates." She pointed at me once. "Sit down." And left. I sat back down, whispering under my breath, "Rejected." Kevin was across from me, staring at the lunchbox with the intensity of a man who had found religion. "That's from Lily's mom. She grew up eating food like that." I looked at him. He looked at me. "Noon," he said. "Split it with me." I tilted my head. "You're trying to absorb academic talent by proximity, aren't you?" Kevin pointed at me and said with absolute conviction, "Yes." I opened my hands in surrender. "Fine." A little later, Lily came back to her own classroom to find a question waiting for her. A girl in her class, standing at the window, called her name in a voice that carried across the hall. "Lily, someone's looking for you. They've been waiting outside." Lily, still walking, didn't look up. "Tell them I'm not here." Sophie, who was already nodding along, shouted toward the door. "Lily says she's not here." The student standing outside looked startled. "But I can literally see her." A pause. Sophie didn't miss a beat. She leaned toward Lily with a stage whisper. "I told you. No creativity. That's why you get caught." Lily's real obligation that noon was a short meeting with the school's math competition team. One of their senior members was graduating and leaving the group, so they needed a replacement. The team captain, Professor Wu, asked if anyone had suggestions. The table went quiet. Then Lily, who almost never volunteered information about anything, slowly spoke up. "I know someone suitable." The whole table blinked. This was already surprising. But then she kept going, describing my background, my track record, my specific results in past competitions, more words in 1 minute than she'd spoken in most of her team meetings combined. Professor Wu looked curious. "Who? Lily gave a brief pause. Then she answered, 2 words. Ethan Jung. Someone at the table frowned. Isn't he in the middle school division? Isn't he a bit young? Lily met the concern without expression. His skill level is not below mine. That afternoon, math teacher Mr. Shu came to my classroom and explained the situation plainly. We'd like you to join the competition team. Are you willing? I looked up with the minimal possible interest. No thanks. Mr. Shu blinked. Really? I thought, since Lily recommended you... And then I did a complete 180. Oh, she recommended me? What would I need to do? Mr. Shu explained there was a practice test that afternoon. I could sit for it and they'd decide from there. Will Lily be there? Mr. Shu, confused but polite, said yes. I smiled. Then I'm in. That afternoon, I arrived at the competition training room approximately as late as someone could arrive without technically being absent. Lily had been waiting. I walked in, spotted her immediately, and made a beeline directly for her seat. She gave me the look of someone who had expected exactly this. Try to take it seriously. These are just practice problems, similar to what you've done before. You'll be fine. I grinned. Okay, so we'll finish early and go out? Lily pointed at my assigned seat. No. Can you at least sit next to me? She pointed again. Same answer. I dragged myself to my seat just as the supervising teacher walked in, spotted me, and asked for my name. I stood up. Ethan Jiang. The teacher nodded. Any questions before we start? I actually raised my hand with genuine curiosity. If I finish early, can I turn in my paper and leave? The teacher's expression went flat. Are you insulting the difficulty of my exam? A slight twitch at the corner of my mouth. I'll wait until you hand out the papers. The room fell into the scratch and scribble of pencils. Lily had just finished writing her last answer when, clap, from across the room, a pen hitting a desk. Then, my hand went up. Done. The teacher walked over, skeptical. He picked up my paper, scanned it, turned it over, scanned again. Every single problem completed. Every answer correct. None in the conventional approach. All using methods no one in that room had seen before, but undeniably right. He looked up at me with an odd expression. You solved all of them? Is there something challenging about them? I asked, genuinely curious. The teacher stared at me for a long moment. Then, looking mildly defeated, You can go. He turned slowly to Lily, who was still sitting calmly. He leaned down and asked her very quietly, You finished too, didn't you? Was the difficulty sufficient? Lily glanced at him, said nothing. The teacher left the room feeling less confident about his entire life's work. Outside, I pulled Lily conspiratorially toward the school's perimeter wall. My expression was the picture of innocence. My words were not. Lily, I've never climbed a wall before. There aren't many people around right now. Let's do it. Lily looked at me with fond exasperation. You want to go outside? No, I said honestly. I just want to know what it feels like to climb a wall. She watched me for a moment and then, slowly, nodded. We had barely reached the top of the wall when a voice from below bellowed, Hey, who's up there? Get down! Which class are you from? Lily exhaled slowly, calculated the situation, and before jumping down whispered to me, When they ask your name, say you're Sophie. What followed could only be described as a masterclass in frame-up. The security guard brought us both to the office, looked at me with visible confusion at the name Sophie, asked several follow-up questions, and eventually released us both. I got walked back to my classroom door by Lily, still lodging a complaint. We were that close to making it over. Then I looked up at her with a bright, scheming smile. Next time, give me a different name. And I'll have one ready for you, too. Lily's expression softened, a glint of amusement in her eyes. She reached over and ruffled my hair. Little troublemaker. When she got back to her own classroom, Sophie was in the middle of an animated conversation with classmates. She had no idea what had just happened. None at all. She was innocent. But not for long. The next day at final period, Lily handed something across the desk to Sophie. A swimming membership card, unlimited entries, valid through the end of the year. Sophie stared at it. For me? Why? How did you know I like swimming? Lily's answer was simply, no particular reason. Sophie's eyes went wide. No particular reason? Lily, you never do anything without a reason. Two other girls at nearby desks immediately protested. Lily, why only Sophie? Lily glanced at them. You'll get your turn. She didn't finish the sentence, but what she left unsaid was clear. At the rate Ethan caused trouble, they wouldn't have to wait long. Sure enough, the last study period of the day brought exactly what she'd predicted. Their homeroom teacher, Ms. Ding, walked in, crossed directly to Sophie's desk, and rapped her knuckles on it. Come outside with me. Sophie stood up, blinking, and followed. At the door, Ms. Ding paused and looked back. Lily, you too. They stood in the hallway. Ms. Ding's voice was not amused. Would someone like to explain why I'm hearing about students climbing the school wall? Sophie stared blankly. I didn't. Ms. Ding cut her off. Don't play games with me. You think I don't know what's been going on? Sophie looked from side to side for an ally. She found none. She had no memory of a wall. She had no involvement with a wall. And yet here she stood. Ms. Ding, 800 words, written. On my desk. Tomorrow morning. Sophie opened her mouth. Lily, standing silently beside her, pressed one calm hand against Sophie's wrist. Sophie closed her mouth. Ms. Ding swept her gaze over them both, then sighed and dismissed Lily. Lily, go back inside. Stop by the math office on your way. Professor Wu wants you. As Ms. Ding walked away, Sophie turned to Lily. She stared at the swimming card in her pocket. She stared at Lily's completely neutral expression. She understood everything. I voluntarily took the blame, Sophie said flatly, to no one in particular. Lily walked away. Professor Wu was reviewing my exam paper when Lily arrived. He took off his glasses and got straight to the point. Lily, who is this Ethan Zhang? He's extraordinary. Lily considered her words. He has exceptional talent. He was invited to elite competitions years before his age group normally qualifies. His results were never below the top. Professor Wu nodded slowly. His approach is completely unconventional. Nothing like yours. But yours is refined technique. His is pure instinct. Lily paused, then answered. And there was something underneath her tone that wasn't quite pride, but was very close to it. Every award I have ever received, he has also received. Professor Wu looked impressed. He stopped competing after a while, though. Lily nodded. He decided it wasn't worth his time anymore. The professor chuckled. Sharp kid. Different kind of sharp from you. You apply skill with precision. He operates on something else entirely. Lily said nothing else aloud. But what she didn't say was this. With enough time, Ethan would surpass everyone in the room, including her. Those competition years had shaped something in both of us that the school would never fully understand. Lily had started bringing me to elite math competitions when I was still young enough to need a guardian signature. She didn't do it to showcase me. She did it because she wanted me to see, genuinely see, that the world was much larger than the problems I solved in my sleep. What she hadn't quite anticipated was that I would sail through every round like a person who found the entire exercise mildly entertaining, rather than the high-stakes academic battle it was supposed to be. Before our first international competition, I caused a conflict with a teammate on the plane. By the time we reached the hotel, it had escalated. The team leaders were quietly losing their minds. The next morning, before the opening ceremony, Lily pulled me aside. Fighting affects your focus, and your focus affects your score. I shrugged. I'll be fine. She glanced toward the other competitor. I meant she'll be affected. I turned, frowning. Why do you care about her? Lily turned to face me fully. This isn't a solo competition. This is a team score. You understand that, right? I thought about it. So it's for China's total? Lily's eyes were steady. Our country hasn't placed in the global top 3 as a team in several years. That's the actual mission here. Not your individual gold. Not mine. Team ranking. And that requires everyone performing. I went quiet. The opening ceremony was calm after that. If the other competitor tried anything, I looked away. From the front of the bus, the two team leaders had overheard enough to exchange a glance. One leaned toward the other and murmured, "Who told her all of that?" "Not me," the lead coach said. "These kids are both so young. I was worried about putting this kind of weight on them." The other coach quietly gave a thumbs up toward the back. "That girl, she's calm beyond her years." I spent competition morning with one setting. Half asleep. Competition day 1. I emerged from the exam hall, rubbing my eyes, and gave the same report I'd give the next day and the day after. Tired, sleepy, want water, also need the bathroom. The team leaders' hearts dropped about 6 floors. Lily, meanwhile, was not worried in the slightest. She sat across from me at dinner and asked casually, "Did you finish all the problems?" I nodded. "Me too," she said. One of our teammates leaned over. "You both finished? Including problem 3 from yesterday and problem 1 today?" Lily. "Yes." He exhaled slowly. "That's bad for me. I might have only gotten 1 or 2 points on those." Lily analyzed calmly. "Those problems were designed to separate the teams. Most countries will score 0 on both. Getting any points at all puts you ahead. 1 or 2 is perfectly fine." Several days later, in the early hours after midnight, the official results posted online. China's team didn't just return to the top 3. They won. Lily and I swept the individual perfect scores. The 2 problems that had stumped every other team in the world. Those were the 2 that opened up the gap. A gap that ended the drought. After that first competition, subsequent ones felt routine. Lily and I had done it together enough times that the rhythm was familiar. And somewhere in those years, she had quietly accepted what she'd known since the beginning, that my ability wasn't practice or discipline. It was something she couldn't replicate through any amount of effort. It was simply how I was wired. As she once observed, sometimes the universe hands someone a gift so complete that no amount of circumstance can diminish it. But I didn't compete for math. I competed because Lily went. Wherever she was, I wanted to be. That was the whole reason. The only reason. Now, back at school, things were the same, and also different. Teacher Fang gave a weary debrief to his colleagues. "That boy, extraordinary talent, natural defiance." When Lily first arrived, it felt like a max-level player descending on a beginner zone. Now with Ethan here too, it just feels like 2 max-level players who wandered into the wrong difficulty setting. That Saturday night, Lily took me to the Marco Walsh concert just as she'd promised. We found our seats in the front section, and I immediately started eating snacks the moment the lights dimmed. Within 4 minutes of the performance starting, I was leaning across the armrest, face scrunched, whispering into Lily's ear, "Lily, I need the bathroom." She pointed without looking at me. "Hurry back!" I hopped out. At the exit door, I nearly collided with a woman coming in late. I dodged sideways and kept moving. The woman, slightly rattled, righted herself and climbed to her seat in the mezzanine, already in a bad mood from traffic, and now this. Then she looked down at the stage level and stopped. Sitting in the best seats in the house, perfectly straight, utterly poised, was a young woman who looked like she had been carved out of still water. In a sea of middle-aged concertgoers, she stood out like a lamp in a dark room. The woman could only see her profile, but even that was enough to feel disoriented. Her companion returned a moment later, clearly younger, visibly energetic, sliding back into the seat like he owned it, and leaned immediately toward the young woman to whisper something. She turned slightly, and for a moment her face was fully visible. The woman in the mezzanine forgot she was at a concert. Her friend nudged her. "Look over there." "I know," the woman said, not taking her eyes away. "Do you know her? That's the school beauty from the attached high school. Cold, brilliant, untouchable." "What's her name?" the woman asked. "Does she have a boyfriend?" "Don't remember her name. Haven't heard about a boyfriend." "Easy enough to find out, though." A few rows away, someone had overheard and turned. Monday morning, I was officially added to the math competition team. I had mixed feelings. I had assumed joining the team meant more time near Lily. What I got instead was the experience of sitting in training sessions where I could barely exchange a sentence with her before the drill started. Kevin was waiting for me with barely contained excitement. Ethan, you got into the competition group? That's basically the most elite academic circle in the whole middle school division. Only one other person from here, Ryan, has a spot. I said, impressive. Kevin, obviously. Do you understand what you've accomplished? Me. Does Lily come to the sessions? Kevin stared at me, then nodded slowly. Yeah. She leads them. I brightened immediately. Then yeah, easy. Kevin clasped his hands to his face. He had been prepared to celebrate. He had not prepared for this. One afternoon during training, I didn't show up. Teacher Fang rapped the board. Where's Ethan? This is the third time. The room looked at each other. Then at Lily. Lily said nothing and looked at her notebook. Ryan, seated near the front, shook his head. Does he even understand the concept of team responsibilities? Are we just supposed to show up or not whenever we feel like it? The room looked toward Fang, expecting a reaction. Lily spoke before Fang could respond. Her voice was light and precise. She doesn't need to train. For her, this is addition and subtraction. She shows up and it disrupts everyone else's confidence. Fang's incoming outburst deflated entirely. He stared at her, opened his mouth, then closed it. Lily, maybe stay quiet more often. Later, Lily packed up to leave and had barely stepped outside when Ryan stepped into her path. His tone was not warm. What did you mean by that in there? Lily looked at the person blocking her way. She didn't recognize the name. She stepped around him and kept walking without turning back. I found 100 reasons every week to appear at Lily's classroom window. I was missing stationery. I needed help with an English sentence. I was curious about a concept I'd seen on a poster. I was thirsty, and her classroom's water was presumably better. Sophie, watching this from her seat for the 40th time, said dryly through the window, "You've come all the way from the middle school building just for a drink of water? There are fountains the whole way here." Lily filled a cup from the dispenser at the back without a word and brought it to me. I drank it in the doorway, then began swaying back and forth. Lily, I haven't written the Earth Day essay. Our language teacher is terrifying. What do I do? Lily's first instinct was to give him her own essay. Then she remembered. Her essays were regularly used as model examples by the language department. Her name would be recognized instantly. She turned. She looked at Sophie. Sophie pressed both hands flat over her notebook. Absolutely not. Lily looked at her steadily. Sophie wavered, then surrendered. She slid the notebook across the desk with the manner of someone paying a ransom. I snatched it, beamed, and ran. Sophie looked at the clock. 3 minutes to next period. She stared at the now empty space where her essay had been. Ms. Ding walked in right on time. Group leaders, collect the Earth Day essays. Sophie's name was written down as absent on the collection list. Sophie had to submit a replacement essay by end of day. She spent the entire period with her head down, reconstructing it from memory and also quietly weeping. Ms. Ding paused at Sophie's desk on her way past the window. Stay on top of your work. Don't fall behind. Then she turned to Lily with something almost approaching warmth. You look tired lately. Don't study too late. Rest is important too. Sophie waited until Ms. Ding's footsteps had faded entirely down the hallway. Then she slammed her pen down. She sleeps before everyone and wakes up after everyone, and I'm the one who looks tired? Why am I at the same desk as this person? Fate is a cruel joke. Lily quietly pushed a department store gift card across the desk. Sophie stopped mid-sentence. The following Monday, I was late again. The guard stopped me at the gate. Name. I had learned from experience. I said in a small voice, Sophie. The guard didn't question it. Handed over the incident logbook. Name, class, sign here. I signed cheerfully and went in. Sophie found out before first period. She marched to Lily's desk with an expression of controlled fury, pointed silently, and waited for an explanation. Lily looked up at her. I heard. Sophie waited for more. Lily said nothing more. Sophie looked at Lily's expression. Peaceful, unmoved, with the faintest shadow of a suppressed smile, and understood immediately that she was being offered no sympathy. "You're hopeless," Sophie told her. Lily turned back to her book. Ms. Ding caught wind of it by third period and stopped at Sophie's seat again. "What is wrong with you lately? One thing after another." Sophie opened her mouth. Ms. Ding raised a hand. "Save it. 800 words. My desk. Tomorrow." Sophie watched her walk away, then turned to Lily with the expression of a woman at the end of her rope. Ethan, the wall, the essay, now this. I am going to combust." Lily slid another gift card across the desk. Sophie pocketed it without another word. After enough of these incidents, I finally started getting things right. I remembered the ID badge. I turned in homework most of the time. The frequency of chaos decreased to occasional rather than constant. My nickname evolved from Transfer Kid to Little Demon King, which I wore without complaint and possibly with mild pride. The weather was getting warmer. The restlessness of teenagers in spring filled every classroom like a slow tide coming in. Sophie burst into Lily's room one afternoon, looking like she'd just witnessed the most incredible thing on earth. She sat down, opened her mouth, then let all the air out of herself, and slumped. "You know what? Never mind. I don't want to say it." She gave Lily a meaningful look. Lily watched her suffer for exactly 2 seconds. "Say it." Sophie snapped back to full energy instantly. "Ryan from the middle school has officially challenged Ethan to a bet. Whoever scores higher on midterms wins. The whole school is talking." Lily's face remained the picture of undisturbed calm. Sophie couldn't believe her composure. "Lily, your person is being challenged. Are you not even a little concerned?" Lily said simply, "No." "Sophie, Ryan has literally never placed below first in his entire academic life." Lily unbothered. "That's because he hasn't met Ethan yet." Sophie stared at her. "That's a lot of confidence." Lily, under her breath. "Ethan doesn't do things the normal way. He never has. He's not going to stress himself out over a bet. He'll do exactly what he wants." What Ethan wanted, as it turned out, was to figure out how many days of vacation came after midterms and whether homework would be assigned during those days. He had already mentally planned an outing with Lily before the tests even started. Lily, meanwhile, had done a quiet assessment. Her math and English were solid. Physics and chemistry were fine. Other subjects were harder to predict. Realistically, she'd probably land in the middle range overall. Not first, and she had made peace with that a long time ago. Midterms came and went. 3 days. Then the scores were released. Math came back first. I had scored full marks. First in the year. The gap between me and Ryan, the boy who had never placed below first, was exactly 1 point. Not more, not fewer. Precisely 1. My math teacher was thrilled beyond professional propriety. She praised me 4 times in 1 class period. Kevin was practically vibrating. He held up my paper with reverent hands. "Your math score is higher than the study king's." I stared out the window, thinking about lunch. "Kevin, doesn't this mean anything to you?" Me. "It's not that hard." Kevin considered slamming the paper down. He considered his options. He chose silence. By the time every subject had come back, Kevin could barely contain himself. He laid out the subjects in order. Math perfect, physics nearly perfect, chemistry nearly perfect, English slightly lower than expected, language arts unexpectedly high. "The language teacher gave me extra points for handwriting," I explained. "Good thing you made me practice when I was little." Lily looked at the scores carefully. Then she handed them back and said, without ceremony, "Keep it up." I looked at her, waited. "That's it?" She started walking, a quiet laugh. "What else were you expecting?" I exhaled and fell into step beside her. "I thought maybe I embarrassed you a little with the other subjects." Lily glanced at me. Her expression was impossible to fully read. How could you ever embarrass me? The midterm results faded from school conversation within a week. Ryan's reign as undisputed academic champion of the middle school division had been quietly, unceremoniously ended. No dramatic scene, no confrontation, just numbers on a page. Ryan went back to studying harder than ever. I went back to planning my next reason to knock on Lily's window. And Lily, the girl whose lock screen, jersey number, and bank pin had always read 0101, had long since stopped pretending she didn't know exactly what it meant. That evening, Lily got home to find dinner already on the table. She washed her hands and began setting out the bowls. Her mother glanced up casually. "I heard you went to the hospital with a boy today." "Lily." "Yes." Her father raised an eyebrow. "Young love?" Lily did not answer. She turned to the kitchen instead and called out loudly, "Mom, I saw Dad smoking in the garden again yesterday." Her father immediately redirected his attention towards self-preservation. Later that night, just as Lily was closing her eyes, her phone buzzed. She picked it up. It was me. "Lily, you asleep yet?" "Almost. Why aren't you?" "I accidentally walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. Don't ask." A long pause. Lily pulled the phone away from her face, pressed her hand over her eyes, and somehow already knew exactly what had happened. Same thing that happened to her 45 minutes earlier. She exhaled. Then, without thinking, she asked, "Where are you?" She immediately held the phone to her chest and told herself that was a deeply unnecessary question. My voice came back very quickly. "Balcony." Another pause. "Lily." "Same. Kitchen for me." The silence between us stretched comfortably, the kind that doesn't need filling. Two people, two separate houses, same accidental discovery, same mutual understanding that some things about parents are better not thought about too hard. Lily finally said quietly, "It means they're still in love. That's a good thing." I made a noise. "Old people shouldn't be allowed to—" "Go to sleep," Lily interrupted. "I can't." "Close your eyes." "Will you stay on the line?" Lily looked at the ceiling of her room for a long moment. Then she said nothing, which for her was always the loudest kind of yes.